Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Kelvin P. Ringgold, Prince of Positive, Oracle of Optimism, coming to you today from somewhere from mile marker 693, headed south on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Yeah, Friday the 23rd, headed home for Christmas, see the family, fight with the sisters. Just kidding. We don't fight with the sisters. Enjoy some good food and some laughs and some camaraderie, and to just have a joyous Christmas day. Of course, I'm going in a couple of days before Christmas, because what would be going home for Christmas without that last-minute stop by somebody's store to pick up something that I'm sure I forgot. You know, you probably heard my stories about Christmas shopping and me not being able to do all that stuff until Christmas Eve. Well, we can't do that this year because Christmas Eve we're actually going to be driving to my baby sister's house, and we're not stopping on the way in. Oh, by the way, I am driving, incidentally, on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, so you may hear various sounds of traffic and other things, but it's just a good day, and I just wanted to have a little chat with you on my way home. It's been a glorious year, in my opinion, at least in my life and the lives of many people that I know. Of course, that doesn't mean a year has been without challenges. But you know about challenges, right? They're the things that turn excellent athletes into Olympic champions. Those are what challenges are. So we've had some challenges. I don't know if I've reached Olympic champion status on any of the things I was challenged on, but I'm doing pretty darn good.
Welcome to the Intensely Positive Podcast with your host, Kelvin P. Ringgold. Preset your mindset to make every day count and make positivity your way of life. Are you ready?
Let's just do this!
So I'm riding down the road here, and this brings to mind, I'm having this conversation with you, and this brings to mind that several years ago, I did some recordings which I called Kelvin Mobile, or Mobile Kelvin, or Kelvin on the Road, or something like that. But they were bits of wisdom that I was eschewing as I was riding down the road, because I was doing a lot of traveling back then. And a number of people had told me that, they really liked my voice, and I should do something with this. And, this is before I knew about podcasting and stuff. So I did a couple of episodes, and then I shared them with a friend of mine who will remain nameless in this event. And because they had talked to me about I'd make a great public speaker, which I was already starting on at that time. And a lot of people would like to hear me. So I shared with them some of these roadside, traveling mobile talks I was having as I was going from place to place, and asked them what they thought. And they said, I don't think so. That's not really what you want to be doing. So somewhere along the line, being as they were one of the people who was supporting me in the speaking idea of listening to them, and then I just put them away, and I had several of them. I put them away. I never shared them with people, and then I went on about my business. Not speaking so formally at that time, so a lot of the stuff I had said, I didn't end up writing up. I didn't end up sharing with anybody. They were just words left on my recording device. Now let's fast forward 3, 4, 5 years. We got people talking in their cars on video cameras saying pretty much nothing or something, depending on what venue you're in. We have people who are giving instructions. We have people who are just doing lifestyle recordings, letting you see what they're doing. We have people who are doing podcasts in bars and cars and all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, there I was actually ahead of my time back then, and I let someone who actually had a lot of respect for me, who actually had a lot of regard for me, talk me out of what I considered to be one of my brainstorms. And now 4 years later, everybody's doing it. I mean, people are talking. Right now on my cell phone, I could pull up in some place that's got reception, and I can have a live podcast from my cell phone, talking to anybody I want to. It's close enough to get to my microphone. But yet back then I had all these motivational things to say, and still do, incidentally, which is why you get me today. But I waited another 4 or 5 years to get started. So here's something I'd like to say to you. If you get a brainstorm, even if somebody else gives it to you, and you think it's going to work, and you feel good about it, pursue it. You know, the worst that could possibly happen is that somebody won't like it. Here's a news flash for you. Regardless of what you do, somebody's not going to like it anyway. So you may as well just go ahead. And it's like when I was a multi-level marketer. We weren't looking for everybody. We were just looking for the people who were looking for us. I had an opportunity. I had something to say. I wasn't looking for every person on the planet to like what I was doing and want to enroll in my group and do all this other stuff. But, you know, there was somebody else out there who wanted what I wanted. There was somebody else out there who was feeling the pain that I was feeling, or feeling the dissatisfaction that I was feeling, who was looking for a way to transmute that into something more productive, something useful, something fulfilling for them. Those were the people that I was looking for, not the people who weren't interested. But a funny thing about trying to find those people is, until you start knocking on doors, until you start asking questions, you don't find out who those people are. Because chances are, those people feel like you do, in that nobody wants to hear about this. I'm the only one who feels this way. What's wrong with me? So they live their lives in what, who was that poet? You know, that guy. In quiet desperation, waiting for something to come along that can take them out of it and give them a sense of purpose. When the idea they just had, they shut down because somebody else didn't think it would go. These days, there's a lot of people on the airways talking about stuff that I really don't care about, that have tremendous followings because they weren't looking for me. They were looking for the people who were looking for them. And that's what I have to say to you right now about what you're doing, what you're thinking about doing, what you're not doing, what you're contemplating doing, what you're a little timid about stepping off into. Do it. Because if you want to do it, chances are somebody else wants to do it. If you have a question, chances are someone else has a question. If you have a point of view and you got a place you want to go, chances are there's someone else with that same point of view that wants to go in a similar direction to where you want to go. And once you take the step, the nerve, the will, the courage, the guts, the adventure to step out there and say it, or until you do, they won't hear it. So, you know, get off the pot, as they say. And or maybe you get on the pot. Whatever it is you do, handle it and start what you're going to do. That's my story for right now. So it's taken me 4 years to get to, or maybe longer, to get to where I am right now, where I'm back in a car with a recording device, recording my thoughts, talking to you, who will hear them probably tonight when I upload them to my podcast channel. And then you can decide whether or not you like to hear it. But I know one thing is for certain. Somebody is going to want to hear has been waiting to hear, really needs to hear the things I'm saying today. It doesn't have to be everybody. It only needs to be just one. If I can help one person with anything I say today, my job is done. And that's what I'm going to say right now. All right? But I'm not done today because I got another 3 hours of driving. Just got to say that. So, how are you today, my friend? I'm awesome. I know I didn't hear what you just said, but, I mean, it's a one-way recording, so I'm assuming that you're doing awesome, too, or you were telling me how that is. But I'm going to tell you that I am awesome. It's been a really, really good year. It's been a good day, as a matter of fact. If we would started today, when I left Syracuse, there was snow on the ground, ice on my driveway. I almost slipped and hurt myself coming out of the driveway. And now that I'm, 4 hours up the road on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, 476 South, mile marker 502, in case you're wondering, there is not a single hint of winter weather here, with the exception that the leaves are not green, where there are leaves. But it's perfectly wonderful. The temperature is 44 degrees, and it's a beautiful, sunshine-filled, white cloud and blue sky-filled sky. And since I'm inside my car and I'm reasonably comfortable, it's easy for me to imagine that outside is really summer weather, which would make my friend Josh in Savannah happy. Of course, sometimes I have to stop and get out of the car, and then the fantasy fades. But I get back in the car while the sun is still shining, and things are going really well. And I know it's 2 days before Christmas, and I should probably be talking about Christmas things or sales or stuff, but I think I already did a part of that. I haven't done my shopping yet, which means I'm probably not going to do my shopping, so people are going to have to settle for hugs and my sense of humor and more hugs and stuff like that. But, that's what I like doing. And I'm much better at hugs than I am gifts anyway, and there's nothing to clean up, there's no paper to throw away when you're done, and life is just going to be good, in my opinion. And if that's what comes back to me, that's what normally comes back to me, that's good for me anyway. I love a good hug, just got to say. But just like it was snowing or weathering or cold and freezing and yucky, not yucky for me because I enjoy the weather in Syracuse. I moved there on purpose from Sacramento. I think I told you that story before. It doesn't bother me, but just like the weather was what it is there, and the weather is what it is here on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, life is like that way anyhow. Every day we get a different slate to play with. And some days when it's snowing and cold outside, you might want to just stay inside and snuggle up. And that's okay, because some days are like that. But other days when it's cold, it's just as much fun when you get the right mindset to go out, grab a handful of snow and throw it at somebody you want to get excited. That can take a lot of turns, I'm sure. But, I do remember the days when I had a good old snowball fight, and getting hit in the face with that little round ball of snow wasn't near as much of a pain to me when I was a child as it is now. As a matter of fact, somewhere along the line, I don't know who did it. I'm going to blame somebody, because why take responsibility for it myself, right? That's what we do. Anyway, somebody convinced me that wasn't fun anymore. Now, don't get me wrong. A couple of weeks ago, before Thanksgiving, I woke up 9:30 one morning, and a bunch of the neighbors' kids were outside playing in snow that was as high as they were. They were throwing snowballs and doing all that kind of stuff, and they were having fun at it. So that's my first clue that throwing snowballs and having snowball fights not being fun, it was still fun for somebody. So obviously, the reason it was no longer fun for me was because I'd had a change in mindset. Now, I need to ask you, is there anything that goes on in your life that you used to enjoy but you don't enjoy anymore? But yet it's the same kind of stuff it used to be before, whether it's a snowball fight or cooking or dancing or whatever it is. But it used to be fun and enjoyable. I used to jump off the roof. Back in the day, those are slower roofs, I'm sure, than what there are today, but they didn't seem that way. I used to jump off the roofs. I don't do that anymore either. I don't think that's fun. But I see kids all the time jumping off low roofs, and they think it's fun too. What's the difference? It's the same sport. It's the same activity, but how we feel about it has changed. And there's a lot of stuff in life that we used to enjoy, but how we feel about it has changed. And that begs the question from my mind, what happened? What happened to this thing I used to enjoy, but is no longer fun? What happened to that person, with that person that I used to have such a good time with, that now I can hardly stand to see them, or vice versa? What happened to the joy I used to feel when I tickled someone, or they tickled me, or I giggled, or they giggled, or they looked at me in a certain way and I felt like a goofball, and it was all that fun? What happened to those days? What changed for those things? And I have kind of an answer for some of that. This fellow named Shakespeare had a play many, many years ago. It's still around, I hear. But he said something during his play, and it said that there is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There's a lot of stuff we used to do or feel that somehow our thinking changed about it. The thing didn't change. The act didn't change. The intensity didn't necessarily change. Well, the intensity probably did change. But somewhere along the line, we decided that that wasn't a good thing anymore. That may have been the result of a bad experience we had once, or it may have been the result of just changing our mind. But there's a lot of things I used to do that I don't do anymore because I don't think they're fun anymore. But when I was a child and I was thinking as a child, you know, I've got the article on, hey, let's get back to that child again, that I thought those things are fun. So these days, and especially just before Christmas, just before the turn of the year, just before everything we're about to be doing is going to get a restart because of this imaginary thing we put in front of us called New Year's Day, that is a arbitrary demarcation of when things are supposed to change. The bad luck we had last year, it probably wasn't luck. Might have been some poor planning, some stuff like that, or a mindset issue. I mean, it's going to change because magically we're going to draw a line in the sand of time and turn everything around. And while we're sitting out here looking at turning everything around, maybe one of the things we need to turn around is the way we think about things. You know, for instance, that thing that's too difficult to learn is the thing we need to master to give us the skill to get to the next level we want to get to. Whether it's a game, whether it's a job skill, whether it's a matter of attitude, whether it's how we handle particular situations, whatever that level of skill is the thing that we need to conquer in order to put us at the next level we want to go. I know a lot of people play video games. My son, baby boy, he plays lots of cool video games. And I am not looking to master video games, but he is. And strangely enough, while he's sitting at this video game, getting stopped at every level, somehow you have to sit there and figure out how to get past the level where you are and get to the next level. You have to figure out what the obstacles are, where the obstacles are, how to get around them, how to destroy them, how to jump over them, whatever it is you have to do with the obstacles to get to the next level. And at that level, you're sailing along pretty well, and eventually there's going to be a point in that level where you've got to climb a little higher, dig a little deeper, run a little faster, be a little more, what is the word I'm looking for? Be a little more clever or whatever to get past, hi truck, to get past where you are and to the next level. And you're going to conquer that next level. And then there's a third level. And for some reason, they get harder and harder and harder as you go along. But it doesn't necessarily seem that way because the skills you've learned in the previous levels make the obstacles in that level easier to overcome. If you'd have started in that level, you'd have got smushed like a bug, vaporized like a, what gets vaporized? Stuff. Blown away. Gone. Poof. Out of there. Right immediately. But because you went through level 1 and learned those skills, you got to level 2 and you learned those skills, and now you're on level 3. And you know what happens when you get to the highest level of the game? Well, sometimes you win money, sometimes you win points, sometimes you get notoriety. Playing video games has its lessons. Not all of us transfer the lessons we learn in those video games to real life. Not all of us transfer the skills that we learned in those video games to real life. Can we do that? Of course we can do that. We were born doing that. As kids, we did that every day. We didn't call it work then. We called it fun. Getting up on that roof, that wasn't easy. We figured it out. How can a 2.5 foot high kid get up on a 10-foot roof where there's no ladder? I never understood. You ever seen somebody shinny up that little pole, that little thing that the water comes down when it rains? Oh, yeah. And they weren't heavy enough to actually pull it off the wall and break it then. But they figured out a way to do it. In video games, we tackle every obstacle. Yeah, we get killed a lot, which is a little different in real life. You get killed, you get to stop. But generally speaking, the obstacles in real life aren't the ones that kill you right away. They might get you scraped up a little bit, and you just got to back up, start over, reassess the situation, move past the next point. But it's still the same thing. Olympic athletes don't get to be Olympic athletes because they quit or didn't want to reach the next level. As a matter of fact, they seek out the next level so that they can conquer the things that they don't have conquered right now. How is that about life? What is that about life? Can't you remember a time when you set out to conquer everything? Can't you remember a time when you were pretty good at conquering whatever got in your way? And then one day, something got in your way and you didn't conquer it. Or maybe you tried it again and you didn't conquer it. And there's two ways to handle that situation. You can become more emphatic about conquering whatever it is that's holding you back, or you can decide to give up. So you know what? I didn't really want whatever that was bad enough. And that's what you're really saying. I didn't really want that bad enough. I didn't want that job bad enough to do what I needed to do. I didn't want that degree enough to finish doing what I needed to do. I didn't want to win that race enough to do the work I needed to do. Okay, I'm not picking on nobody about races because I don't run anywhere. But I'm thinking about it. I'm working on the motivation. But everything that's coming up, whatever you wanted to do bad enough, you found a way to do. Let me repeat that for you. Whatever you wanted to do bad enough, passionately enough, you found a way to do. And the things that you thought you were passionate about, that you found out you weren't passionate enough about to do, to finish, something happened in the process which helped you change your mind. And that's the problem that we have to face. Whether it's going to be Christmas Eve in 2 days and you still got shopping to do, whether you have a business you want to start, or you've got a business you started and it's not going where you want it to go, whether or not you got a race you want to run. They have They have a Couch to 5K program. Found out that 5K is only like 3 miles, right? So I could do that. Yeah. Well, I rode 14 miles on a bicycle. That's probably as close as I'm going to get. It's a lot easier on the knees out here. But some people are built for that. It could change. Never know what the motivation is going to be. But here's the thing. Whatever it is you want to do, as long as you stay passionate about it, things happen and you find a way to overcome it. It's when you stop being passionate about what it is you want to do. It's when you lose sight of the dream you originally had, and you lose sight of the joy that you were anticipating having over that. Whether it's a joy of accomplishment, a joy of acquisition, a joy of mastery, whatever that was. When you lose sight of the passion you had, and you lose sight of the joy that you were looking at initially, that's when your motivation wanes and you no longer want to get it. So what's the power? What's the secret? The secret, of course, is number one, be sure of what you want. And number two, maintain your vision. Stay focused on what it was you were focused on when you first started trying to acquire that. Keep sight of, keep feeling the feeling inside that you were feeling when you first got excited about it. And if you keep that up, you will keep inching on it. You will keep inching on it. You will keep inching on it until one day, suddenly, they tell me that most overnight successes take about 15 years to get there. Just saying. But suddenly, as you've been inching up on it, it's yours. And I have it on good authority that once it's yours, you kind of forget about an awful lot of those learning opportunities you had on the way to getting it. But by the time you get that, then people call it things like, oh, he was lucky. She was lucky. Oh, she was born under a magic star. They just got it like that. I mean, they're smart. They were agile. When the fact of the matter is, if you ask most people, they weren't all that smart. They weren't all that agile. They just had the passion. And where you have the passion, and where you have the desire, and where you have the focus, and where you have the will to persist, is where you're going to go. And if you can look back at a time in your life when you had all that and you maintained all that, you got where you're going. If you're looking back going, I lost all that, then you find out the point where you lost the motivation, where you lost the vision, where you lost that radar lock on what you wanted it for, and you'll find out where your passion went, and where your drive went, and where your ingenuity went, and where your gas went for your motor. Now, you figure out a way to get back to that, and guess what? You'll be just as excited as you were back then. And watch what happens. So, it's 2 days before Christmas Eve. You got a lot to think about. That's Christmas Eve 2016, by the way. You have a lot to think about of what you want to get, what you gonna have going on next year, what you're gonna have going on between now and New Year's, whatever you want later. Figure it out. When you get happy about it, don't lose sight of anything that's fueling you right at that point. And we're not going to talk about the rest of that right now. Right now, I'm driving home. I understand that when I get home this afternoon to my mother's house, well, Mom's not there, but it's always going to be her house. We know it. I think she's still watering plants, but that's a whole other story. Then when I get there, my sister's going to have me some sloppy joes and something. She asked me what I wanted to eat. For some reason, she thought my peanut butter and jelly sandwich and Campbell's chunky chicken soup was rude or something. So I'm going to let her make sloppy joes. but I'm going to go home to get that. I'm focused. I'm going down the highway at a pretty good clip, even when I saw the cop back off to the road a few minutes ago. But I'm headed home. I'm headed to where I'm going. I'm looking with great anticipation to this food my sister's going to cook, and I'm looking forward to Christmas Sunday, and I'm looking forward to Christmas Eve tomorrow, and I'm looking forward with passion to enjoying my family and laughing and finding some way to annoy my sister that's going to make her laugh too. I'm looking forward and passionate to all that, and I'm looking forward to coming back to New York next week, and I'm looking forward to get started on the rest of my dreams because my friends keep telling me there is only now. When we talk about what I'm going to be doing on the 1st, talk about what I'm going to be doing on the 27th when I'm sitting back in my house waiting for the next piece, getting ready for the next piece. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm looking forward to having a wonderful 2017, and I want you to look forward to having a 2017 that's wonderful, and I want you to start plotting right now. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you what wonderful means to you. That's not my job. But when you figure it out, it's your job not to let anybody else talk you out of it. All right? So you've probably had enough road noise for right now. And I'm passing up. Oh, look, it's a Lexus. I love Lexus. Anyway, they're a wonderful thing. And another funny-looking truck called the Peapod. You can't see it because this is audio and not video. But you'd think it was funny if you saw it. Grocery delivery to homes and workplaces. You know what? Keep your eyes open when you're going through life. Keep your eyes open when you're going towards your goal. You're going to find stuff you didn't know was there that will help you. Keep it up. Don't lose sight of it. Keep having fun. Keep smiling. Keep laughing. Keep looking for your miracle. And you have an awesome day and an awesome holiday. And we'll see you next time.
Wow, that was awesome.